Up next, ladies and gentlemen, it's our honor to have invited Mr. Kunal Chatterjee, Vice President, Head of Innovation Asia Pacific from Visa, to share with us on the topic of From Transactions to Transformation, Innovations Driving the Digital Economy. Let's put our hands to welcome our next speaker. Welcome.
Hello, welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Cyberport, for having me here today. You must be wondering, how come Visa's here talking about sustainable cities and driving economies of scale? Well, being part of the world's largest payment network, it gives us the privilege to have access on not just data trends, but also to influence behavior by consumers, corporates, and working with governments across the world. My name is Kunal. I work for the innovation team in Visa, which is part of a global innovation team. We do a lot of sense-making based on trends that we see and feed that sense-making into new product development ideas. So what I thought I'll do today is, this is a word from our legal sponsors, by the way, so please ignore that. I wanted to talk about a few trends. And based on those trends, I want to bring that down to some key themes that will be relevant for you to think about as we think about digital economies and smart cities. So I often get asked, what does the future look like? And to me, in some shape or form, the future is already here, but it's just unevenly distributed. Different markets are in different forms of evolution, different governments, different consumer behaviors. In some markets, some are very advanced in their thinking. Another are in the development phases. So when you sort of break that down, there are four key elements I would like you to think about. One is the continued acceleration of e-commerce transaction that has happened post-COVID. Now, when you bring that together with the rise of the digital savvy consumers, plus the creator economy, it really accelerates the digitization of payments with digital wallets, payment credentials, payment apps, and that transcends across generations. When you think about it yourself, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? You look at your phone. You look at your social media, you look at your emails. Whatever you do, your life begins right when you wake up, and probably the last thing you do before you go to sleep. So when you bring that into context, payments and how you live your life is dictated by how you use the digital interfaces that surround you across the time. The second key trend is around the need for speed. Contactless, real-time payments, immediate fund transfers are being adopted more and more now by businesses. Earlier, it was the consumers. Now, businesses also demand such speed in their payment reconciliation. The third is about institutionalization of cryptocurrencies. Early days, but definite tailwinds in terms of the development on collaboration between public sector and private sector, resulting in new use cases using blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies. The last, which is I really love, is how regulation is keeping up step changes with innovation. It's no longer about inhibiting innovation, it's about providing frameworks, sandboxes around the world, introducing new regulations to keep up with the changing payments landscape and to foster that innovation. They're looking to include the underbanked, the unbanked, and how do you bring them into the digital foray as you think about building your economy and building the cities. So these are four macro trends that I think transcend the globe, no matter where you are, and you should think about as we think about digital economies of the future. So once we look at digital economies, here are the three themes that will underpin how technology will be driving a lot of the behavioral attributes for those economies. So let's talk about the first one. What is urban mobility? Think about the cities you live in. A lot of you would have traveled here, a lot of you live here. How do you take transport? Do you take the MTR? Do you take the ferry? Do you take taxis? Do you drive? Do you bike to work? And within that context, how do you pay for those transportations? Is it cumbersome? Is it not? How are your local authorities thinking about automating those transportation mechanisms? Urbanization is expected to reach 70% globally by 2040. And urban mobility is the backbone of any city for progress, enabling seamless convenience applications of payments to drive a fast and secure and easy way for citizens and residents to move around the city. So when in our research, we asked half of the commuters in Asia Pacific use 4 or more different forms of payments for different types of commutes. That's astounding. And then 3 out of the 5 respondents had said they expressed their desire to use a single payment method. Because if there is a single payment method, chances are they will use public transport more than private transport. So why is that? Why do different companies use different types of technologies? Because that's something that's known as closed loop. So one single use case. So I can only use my card for the train. I have to take a separate card to use the bus, and so on and so forth. A lot of economies are built on that. So when you think about open loop, what are open loop technologies? Open loop technologies are like Visa. We provide open loop access where you can use your same credential no matter where you are for different use cases. Open loop has benefits beyond interoperability as well. It permits transit operators to securely gather insights into the passengers' travel habits, which may be used to further improve your systems. This would help relieve and reveal data on other factors like ridership. Do we need more trains at certain points in time? In turn, mobile providers can also optimize their services by reducing congestion, improve operational efficiencies, and commuters can enjoy their peaceful rides right from the time they land at the airport or even just going to work. Now, we have seen this open loop technology take place and Visa being used in majority of global cities around the world: US, UK, Singapore, Thailand, Australia, and now I'm very proud to say Hong Kong as well. Now, Hong Kong is a dear city for me. My family and me, we love to come. And now, when seeing this, how the Hong Kong government and Visa in Hong Kong have collaborated to bring this to life, it really opens my eyes. Now you can use, whether you're a local resident or you're a foreigner, your same Visa card can be used for the Star Ferry, for the MTR, which is one of the busiest and most congested train systems in any city, and even on the ding-dings. And even on the trams, you can get $1 off for every time you use your Visa card. That sort of brings out and provides that incentive for consumers to continuously use those credentials. So let me geek out a little bit. Okay, so when we talk about open loop contactless technology, the underlying technology is essentially account-based ticketing. Now, account-based ticketing basically provides the brains of the system into the central back office. That enables faster way of enabling the transaction processes to take place more securely. It removes the need for different cards to be programmed differently. So it moves from a card-based system to an account-based system, which will also enable new use cases. Some of the new work we are starting to do using ABT is, do you even need a card? A lot of people are using the phone. What if the future of travel, domestic travel and international travel, is based on your face or on your biometrics? And that is what the future will entail. So we talked about urban mobility. Now let's look at how urban mobility is also intertwined with digital economies. The second frontier on digital economies is how businesses interact with each other. And there is a revolution going on, ladies and gentlemen. There's a revolution in business-to-business payments. Because businesses are not going to sit idle with long-term, cumbersome reconciliation processes. They too want to get on in operating their businesses and getting on with their work, whether that's large corporates or small and medium enterprises. So the first thing that's happening in the B2B space is around blockchain breakthrough. We are starting to see institutionalization of cross-border wholesale digital currencies and the use of digital distributed ledger technologies much more than before. Scale is still small, early adoptions on the way, but the tailwinds are still there. Now, why the shift? There's greater efficiency in real-time settlement. Often, assets are bouncing around from one bank to another bank, and especially when you think about cross-border, it takes days. There's loss of efficiencies. Wholesale CBDCs provide that efficiency in terms of settlements of payments, reducing processing times and fees, and improving the reconciliation process. Think about interoperability between networks. Different banks use different cloud software, different companies use different mainframes, and it gets super complicated. The underlying cryptography that enables these movements of money is still the same, and there's a lot of work that's going on in this space. The last bit is around programmability of money. When you think about programmability, it's basically you put in a set of rules to ensure money moves from point A to point B. And that's a basic example. When you look at much more complex micropayments, multi-party payments, we are no longer just about moving money, but the ability to create which account should it be funded from. And those are the different ways that efficiencies are driving in the financial sector. I'm proud to say the HKMA is in the second phase of the e-Hong Kong dollar pilot, looking at interoperability and interbank settlement, and Visa is a proud player in that as well. Now, the second thing that's happening in B2B payments is around the notion of embedded commerce. And embedded commerce is a right to play for everyone in this space. And the banks are slowly losing out in this space. And I'll tell you why. Big tech, fintech, startups are all embedding financial services into their platforms. What does that mean? They're creating a new wave of growth. These partnerships will be the winner. The non-traditional players use technology to alleviate customer pain points, offering innovative solutions like B2B e-commerce, platforms, buy now, pay later, and value-added services. Let me give you an example. Now, payments are being integrated into procurement and enterprise resource planning platforms. Visa recently worked with SAP to ensure all the procurement platforms are embedded with Visa credentials. So if you're a procurement officer and you need to buy and make payments, you don't need to worry about which bank account, where does it go. It's all integrated in the same workflow. When you look to digitize workflow and you instill payments as part of that workflow, that's where the magic happens. Similarly, in Visa, we have an Asia Pacific Accelerator Program. Now, the Accelerator Program aims to work with startups all over the world to figure out what are the new use cases that's going on in that space. We worked with a fantastic company in Singapore called Doxa. They're looking at the construction vertical. When you're a main contractor, you hire subcontractors, trade financing, all goes through the same flows. The banks are not involved. The fintechs directly work on that same trade flow to ensure money movement happens. So as you think about the economies, you have to think about partnership strategies to enable that money movement as well. Now, these two items that I spoke about as themes, what's the underlying asset? And the underlying asset, like all the speakers have mentioned about, is data. The amount of data that is being generated today in the last 1 year, just 1 year in terms of gigabytes of data, is more than in the last decade. And that is the fundamental shift that happens with digitalization. AI, including generative AI, is seamlessly integrated into our vernacular. Everyone has either knows what ChatGPT is or uses ChatGPT. However, we are not the only ones using AI. And you're probably right if you're thinking about the bad actors and the fraudsters also using the same technologies. Now, like I mentioned, you would have heard of ChatGPT Have you heard of Fraud GPT? Fraud GPT is an unregulated chatbot which is specifically designed for illicit activities. So let me give you an example. This is a video of me in my younger days in Korea addressing a group of students.
아무도 겪어보지 않은 미래이고 거기서는 우리들이 채워갈 시간이 더 많기 때문에 어떤 방식으로 살아가는 게 맞을지 스스로 답을 찾아보고 계신 거였습니다.
감사합니다. Are you impressed by my Korean? I hope you're not, because it's not me. Now this took someone from my team exactly 5 minutes to create. Took my photo from the web, put it on in the video grab, and created that. So the threats beyond deepfakes and voice verification, cyber criminals can now employ generative AI bots to uncover and exploit IT systems vulnerabilities. Tasks that required hours before can be done in minutes. So as we venture into the digital economy, it's important to recognize the disparity between large firms, small firms, large economies, small economies. I come back to my opening. The future is here, just unevenly distributed. And it's Visa's mission to work with everyone in the ecosystem to drive inclusivity, to uplift economies. And it's our job to work together. So here's my appeal to you. I would like us to collaborate to drive ethical use of technologies and data use. Visa can provide necessary platforms to drive effective collaboration, like we have with HKMA, like we have done in transit. We have our accelerator programs to work with the thriving fintech sector. We should be jointly building out, as you think about smart city, joint product level roadmaps on what the payment infrastructure should be for those smart cities. With regards to AI, Visa's been using AI for the last 30 years. It's not a new concept for us. AI is used for all our fraud and risk products. As a matter of fact, even last week, we launched 3 new products for our businesses using AI to protect business interests. Looking ahead, I vision a future brimming full of opportunities, a future where partnerships between tech, government, private sector, and small and medium enterprises, working with the citizens of the nation, we can do good. With that, what excites me the most is not here, we're just not adapting to change, we're actually looking to drive that change together. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Kunal, for the very inspiring sharing, particularly your video. That was very interesting. Thank you.